So in this video, we're going to take a closer look at Commando, the story of the Green Beret. This is a film you can watch on the Imperial War Museum's website, and we have selected one of the clips that includes obviously the Vickers machine gun. So it's training in Wrexham, and you'll see as the clip runs, it's a narrated sort of first-person account almost, produced in 1945. And the clip starts with him writing a letter, so the main narrator talking about being back at Wrexham, and they're doing specialist training. And this part of the film starts with the sniper training, so you can see the snipers settling down with their number 4T rifles, their face veils, their Denison smocks, camouflage paint on them, and taking aim. But it quickly goes into machine gun training and jeeps coming on the screen, and what we have up here is 3 jeeps, which is quite nice to see. We have Jeep number 1, 1, 2, 3, and Jeep number 1 has the section commander and the range taker. Jeep number 2 is the first gun subsection, and then the Jeep number 3 is the second gun. So we've got one section commander or subsection commander, one section commander and 2 subsections making a section. And this is exactly how they would have deployed in with universal carriers in infantry battalions as well. So they're practicing the same drills out of the 1944 training manual, so deploying from a vehicle, but clearly they're not using universal carriers. Why would they? They're commando troops, and yeah, they're using the equipment they have, which is really interesting that they've adapted those drills, because that doesn't exist in any official amendment or variation of the manual. So it's quite nice to see that they were practicing that. But anyway, so good sort of overall bigger picture kind of perspective there. And what we see is the section commander and the range taker running off while the 2 gun teams unload their guns and take everything away. And then we see the jeep speed away to a position normally sort of 100, 200 yards away behind the guns where they're setting up. And it's exactly again what the universal carriers would be doing. And then the number 4 of the gun detachment, the subsection, would be observing to see what signals the number 3 sends back to on the section commander to come and get them, or to bring forward more ammunition and stuff like that. But taking a look at the first gun being set up, we can see the number 1 here and the number 2. The number 1 is carrying the dial sight on the shoulder strap here, and it's really tight up under his armpit. So, and these straps are always found to be very short. It's quite interesting, for a modern build person, quite often you have to put an extra utility strap to give it a little bit of extra give, really, so you can get it round. But you can't get it over the head with this short strap very easily, so you have to sort of do it up once it's in the right place, but it does stop it moving about, and that's really important because in here is very precious and sensitive equipment. So the dial sight is optical, or is a set of optics, so it's fragile. It needs to be looked after, so it doesn't want to be banging around. But they're wearing their 37 pattern equipment with their small packs, belts here, and basic pouch here. Denison smocks, green berets, and on his green beret they're wearing the regimental badges, and this looks to be the badge of the Royal Armoured Corps. So it shows somebody that has that heritage. They don't have a single cap badge across the commandos. Although the Royal Marines did all form commandos, they weren't all Royal Marines, if that makes sense. So this chap here has come from the Royal Armoured Corps. The gun itself is a smooth jacketed gun. The barrel casing there with the barrel casing cover on it as well. It seems to be quite a late build. It's got its dial sight cover. It's got a Mark III tangent sight slide, and then standard Mark IV tripod. What's interesting about the tripod being set up though is it's not being set up level. So they're actually missing a point on the elementary gun drill. So he's putting the pins in, but the tripod has not been set up properly. The front legs either need raising 1 notch, or the rear leg needs dropping 1 notch, so that the direction dial will be properly flat and perpendicular to the traverse of the gun, or parallel with the traverse of the gun, because otherwise when he swings this gun round it's actually going to drop, and it will be inaccurate. So somebody should be picking them up on that in training, which is quite interesting to see. What we also have, and you'll just see it come into shot in a minute, is a blast deflector. It's not the It's not the full muzzle attachment. It's not the full flash eliminator. Let's put it that way. So you'll see the later guns come around and they've got that bit on the front of them. This is the blast deflector. The front piece is the blast deflector and flash eliminator. So it's quite interesting that they're not using that at this point in the war, quite late on. So clearly in training in the field they were all using the flash eliminators at this point. So blast deflector stops it picking up dust and everything like that and make sure the blast goes forward, but the flash eliminator makes sure the flash goes forward as well. You can still see quite a lot of flash, and certainly, you know, at night this chap behind here would have his night vision severely impacted by the fact the flash is parallel to his left, you know, on his left there. And we can see that the number one is starting to adjust the elevating wheel to lay the gun. And what else can we see? That the number two is pulled out the ammunition box and is starting to load the ammunition. It's from a strip type belt, the Mark 1 belt, and it's being loaded from a number 8 belt box. Again, showing that it's in training, because in the field it would be the later patterns factory filled liners being used. And then what do we see? So we can see it better from this side as well, loading that ammunition belt there. And what we can see the gunners have, both the number one definitely has a revolver or a pistol there, but he also is wearing his basic pouches as well as the small pack, but he's not wearing a water bottle. So there's no water bottle hanging down, which was the original intention of the 37 pattern equipment, was that nothing would be hanging below the waist. Clearly that goes, you know, goes by the wayside, but the water bottle is probably being carried in the small pack so that it doesn't catch when they're getting on and off the vehicle, and we get a great view of the hobnail boots as well. They're wearing Denison smocks, as I said, probably battle dress trousers maybe, but it could be denims. They are slightly lighter, so yeah, possibly for training they're wearing denims as well. So he's setting the gun up, he's loading it, pulling that crank handle back, and then the section commander is coming forward to give them instructions and the fire control orders. What we can see is the section commander's a corporal. He's come forward with his number 4 rifle. We can see the right hand side of the number 2 as well, where he's wearing his revolver or holster, and he's also carrying the spare parts case there under his right armpit. So you know, he's got everything to hand. Let's carry on, and what we can see is actually the section commander is actually laying the gun for him, so as well as the target indication, and then crawling back to where the range taker is. So they're all ready to fire, and he's going to give his fire control order. So direct fire order, you know, quite quick, and you know, will consist of the range, its indication, target, and the type of fire. Sorry. So you know, who's firing, the range, indication, and the kind of fire to be employed, so rapid. What we can see though is that the corporal's tapes are actually painted onto his Denison smock, which is quite interesting. He is a Royal Marine Commando, or he's a Royal Marine, and presumably, you know, that is a Green Beret. He's a Royal Marine Commando, and you know, clearly conducting some of this training. What we can see for the range finder, it says a number 12 because it's only 80 centimeters long, but it's a Mark 7 because the sling attachment point is at the end of it, not here, which features on the stuff that is before the Mark 7. So yeah, and the range taker I think is using a rifle. So he's laying the range on the tangent sight there, and you can see that it's not actually that far up. It's probably 400, 600, maybe 800 yards, but he certainly hasn't raised it very far at all. And then he's going to go ahead and fire. And you can see that he's firing 25 round bursts from the Vickers. You can see that crank handle moving backwards and forwards very, very quickly, which is one of the reasons why we keep our fingers on top of the grips. And then the video goes into 3-inch mortars firing. So let's just scroll back a little bit and just play this clip again, this last bit of the clip, and you can see where he's lifting that tangent sight. He's indicating he's about to fire. The number 2 will be seeing that. Obviously, the number 1 has his back to the section commander. So the number 2 sees that and will be telling the number 1 to fire. You can see in this clip the number 3's also here, ready to bring up forward and bring up more ammunition, running backwards and forwards to the vehicle as they need to, both armed with rifles. They will also take any broken parts back from this number 2 to repair them, so locks and things like that. They may take back to the vehicle to repair. Or they may do it themselves from the spare parts case as the number 2 carries on supporting the number 1. You can see the range taker here has his spike bayonet for his rifle, so his number 4 rifle, and you can see their position. They're on a slight slope, they're on a slight reverse slope, firing along the slope there. So the number 2 isn't sat in the traditional sat behind. You can see his foot sort of sticking out here to give him a bit of balance. So that's just a really, yeah, this is a position that's trained and covered in the manuals, and it's one of the diagrams that we have on our t-shirts actually. So yeah, really interesting to see how they're learning to fire and everything as well. One thing that I didn't mention I spotted, but if you go back to this picture, let's just go forward here, you can see slightly that we actually have empty cases here. So it's obviously a position that they've used previously, or are just retaking the shot for the purposes of the camera. We've got empty cases below the gun, which is quite interesting to see. Or perhaps this shot is just cut in. It's actually them taking the gun backward. No, they're setting it up clearly. So they've just used the gun position before, and then it moves forward again, and loading it. Can't ever tire of seeing the Vickers gun being loaded. Looks like this is a King's Own Scottish Borderers cap badge, by the way. Fixed to the beret there, and sort of bent round the beret. The King's Crown is bent backwards a little bit, so it forms to the beret a little bit more neatly. Good conditions kit. Yeah, they are in training, obviously. That crank handle backwards and forwards, nothing particularly noticeable about the gun, and then we get into that mortars again. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and that's given you a bit more information about about what we're seeing in this superb little clip in what is actually a really good film. So take the time, go and watch the whole thing. Please do consider supporting us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/VickersMG. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, share it, let us know any comments, and hopefully you'll watch our material again soon. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and share the video and subscribe to the channel. Please support us on Patreon if you're able to, and let us know of anything you'd like to see in the future. I look forward to hearing from you.